It's a very normal thing to knock before you enter, particularly a teenager's room. You just can't barge in like my parents did to me. I don't know about yours. But there was a sense of privacy. Can I come in? Can I talk to you for a moment? You've seen it, you've maybe witnessed it, I've witnessed it. What about the privacy of a teenager? I mean, he or she is also undergoing a transition. What about the right of privacy? You know, my calls being recorded by someone, and I really, protest when this happens. Dhananjay, please explain the legal side of this, as it were.
Well, first of all, the law will not be the same. The law in India is not going to be the
Yeah.
same like it would be in the United States. There will be a drastic difference, and the law also follows, or for that matter, incorporates the cultural elements to some extent. So it's important to know that children do have privacy. When I say privacy, it's best to illustrate in a context. You could have a 15-year-old boy or a 16-year-old, 15-year-old girl. You don't want their parents to tell them that, look, we suspect that you do something while you are going to have a bath, in a closed room. So we want you to have a bath without closing your door, right? Because they believe, or for that matter, their religious ideal might believe that children should not gratify themselves while, having a bath. So that if there should be a if should there should be an incident like that, then the child concerned under our law, not that anyone's done that so far, but as a matter of legal principle, the child should be able to go over to a civil court and seek a restraint upon the parent from
Right.
insisting on things like that for two reasons. One, the parent is providing for the child. So the parent might very well say that, look, if you don't follow my advice, if you don't follow my instruction, I am not going to maintain you. I am not going to provide you nutritious food. I'm not going to provide you good clothes and
Right.
things like that. So they would have, in theory, a legal right to go to a civil court. There's no doubt
Okay.
about it.
All right.
Now, when you have a detective agency, whatever the detective agency does can only be seen as an extension of what a parent can legally do. So, if the parent wants the detective agency to put in a software or put in some snooping thing on the cell phone of the parent's child, then that may strictly not be illegal because the phone at the end of the day is not the property of the child. It's a parent that's purchased the phone for the child. And should the matter like this go to the court, then the courts might say that, look, what is it that you would want to do over your phone? And your parent certainly can snoop on you. And because your parent can snoop on you, your parent might very well delegate that function to
Yeah.
an external agency.
Yeah.
But the
Okay.
external agency can't just, get a hacker to hack into the network
Yeah.
and then collect information from the network, because then that
All
would be
right.
illegal.
Okay. Naman Jain, son, you are the
Yeah.
MD of Sleuths India. I see that a lot of people, parents are approaching you, telling you to kind of find out what their kids are up to. Tell us, in a normal case, without naming names, I mean, does it always come from a fear that what if my child is doing drugs, meeting the opposite sex, is sexually active, is having sex, or lying to me, is going for tuition but is actually going and hanging out with girls? All or some of which I have done, guilty, but the point is that are those the reasons for the parents to kind of put a detective behind a teenage kid?
No, I would tell you, Sudha, it's not the insecurity. It is about the behavioral changes that they observe in the recent times about in a kid when they actually approach us. Initially, a parent would like to take care of their child themselves at home, right? Once, it goes out of their hands, only then they contact us. So once they have clear doubts on their children that they have got, taken a wrong company, or they are, sometimes, I tell you some signs which may make the parents feel that the child is into drugs. So children is spending more time in the bathroom. They get, they are getting violent without any reason on their parents. They are restless all the time. They do not allow their parents to come into their rooms at all. Sometimes they find stuff like weed and marijuana in their rooms. So that is something that makes them suspicious about a child. Secondly, when the child is going off the hours out of the home and not telling parents where exactly he is, what exactly he is doing during the day, or what exactly he is doing during the night. Why is he coming back home late? And the parents would have obvious questions in their mind that where the child is, what exactly is he doing outside when he
Well,
is outside.
yeah, right.
Sometimes
Yeah,
they
Naman.
even bother that why the child is earning so much despite of not having a clear indication that where this money is coming from. They're not telling their parents that where the money is coming
Yeah,
from,
that
but
is
still they're taking a lot of money.
the last aspect is worrisome. But Dr.
Yeah.
Srinivasan Jayaraman, let me come to you. All these indications, they seem very normal to me. Like when I would get bad marks, I would hide the question paper under the mattress. I would say I'm going for tuition and hang out with my friends and come back. I'm saying this on national television. I would have mood swings. It's a very good student, so that served me, right? I did not do all the rest of the things. But this seems like a very normal thing, bad mood, saying please mind your own business, do not interfere in my life, don't keep snooping as to what is going on, why do you keep checking my bag, why are you so inquisitive to know what my friend is talking to me. Dr. Jayaraman, doesn't this all sound very normal, and does it really need a detective is my question to you.
Uh, Thank you, ma'am. It's a very good question. Like, because if you put a detective, it will going to a negative impact. Because if as far as like, I'm okay with it. So once I know that my parents are watching me, my parents are like, putting detector on me. So I'm not able to accept that because, they, for example, they are not believing me. Whatever I say, like, is not acceptable in my family. So my self-esteem completely low. I will get like disturbed in my mentally.
Right.
So I will try to do that every time. So if you like, usually we say like no to express emotion. Like for example, if you somebody did something wrong, you first check with them. First you talk nicely, then you have to explain. If you, every time you're checking that child or checking the adult which having using some alcohol or any drugs, if you keep on checking, they immediately go to that behavior. So they will not like, say if I'm stopped for a long period, every day you are checking that. So what I'll do, so I'll go to that. So
Yeah.
like that will happen. So you
All
have to
right.
handle,
Yeah.
you have to give a
Yeah.
positive approach and talk to them.
Right. Okay. I want to go to also Dhananjay here. Dhananjay, you see, I'm sure, like you say, our laws are not similar to that of, what happens in North America or anywhere else. But I want to ask you something, that losing of trust, I mean, parents not performing their duties, as it were, snooping and, also violent behavior, that also still does not come under the purview of law in this country, because it's not possible in the West at all, where you lamb your kid every now and then. Here, I mean, here we do it, there you can't touch also. But I'm asking you, if you look at it from the legal prism, don't you think the law can, if it comes up, the law can ask that what was the need for a detective agency, Mr. X and Mrs. X? Is it not possible for you as parents to counsel your children? What was the need for an external agency, Dhananjay?
No, a court may not be able to satisfactorily probe a parent in that manner because the parent is the one that will always determine what's in the best interest of the child. So if a parent, so the court will always, I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody has to go to the court, court cannot see a motor take notice of things like this, certainly not on the basis of any media report. So because this matter is entirely personal, it will rest on the facts of each case. But we are talking about a hypothetical scenario where a child goes to a court and then the court wants to know the rationale for why the parent could has appointed a detective agency. It's possible the parent might be able to justify it by saying that the challenges that children face today are manifold and they are so more different than the challenges that many of us were facing while we were growing up, including the judges. Judges are typically in their 55s. Most judges in this country, average age is about 55. So it's entirely possible for a judge to say that he grew up well, without all of this monitoring, without so much of surveillance.
Yeah.
But times have changed. So the parents might very well say that, look, the drugs today, the synthetic mixes are so potent, so lethal. Fentanyl, it could be fentanyl or it could be the lab-made marijuana. So, you always want to make sure that children are not hooked onto this, because just imagine what happens if a child because it's got good amount of pocket money, gets hooked onto fentanyl, it's almost impossible to get the child back. Rehabilitation is nearly impossible for young minds should they get addicted. So the possibility alone might justify parents from doing what they do. But at the end of the day, is a parent doing it with the interest of the child at heart, or is a parent really not bothered about the child's welfare, but more concerned about the prestige that the family, name might crumble in society should the child do this or that?
Right, okay.
So that, I think, makes a difference.